How's it going, everybody? This is Julia coming at you with Genesis, a continuation, and we're sitting about the halfway mark. So there's 50 chapters in total, and I'm at 20. I'm at the 25th. So on this continuation of Genesis, so far what I've learned about how the dynamics were back then is came down and confused our language. But first and foremost, I would like to point out that the covenant that was made was between God and the earth. And a rainbow is a sign of that covenant. It's okay to call your wife your sister, as long as your wife is the daughter of your father, but not your mother. Buying people is okay, as long as it's done with foreigners' money. And in times of stress, offer your daughters as collateral. You know, it's always the daughter's idea to get their father drunk and then get pregnant by their father. Because that makes sense, right? I'd like to point out that all lowercase lord, there is a reference to this in chapter 18, verse 12. And Sarah had passed the age herself, saying, After I have grown old, shall I have pleasure, my lord being old also? My lord, all lowercase, her husband. So, all lowercase lord, the one who has authority over people, places, and things, is husband would fall into that. And as you go down in chapter 18 and you go to verse 16, oh no, sorry, 17, the Lord said, Shall I hide from Abraham what I am doing? Why would the Lord ask Sarah that? Isn't he the Lord? Isn't he the God of all, knows all, be all? I'd like to commend Abraham, though, for following his moral compass. As you continue on in chapter 18, you get to verses 23, where Abraham has a conversation with the Lord saying, if there were 50 people, 50 righteous people in this city, would you not spare them? And the Lord said, for those 50 people alone, I would spare the whole city. Chapter 19, verse 28. When he looked back at Sodom and Gomorrah, and he made a reference saying, it went up like the smoke of a furnace. Does anyone know the timeline of this? Did they have furnaces back then? Just wondering. Then as you continue on in the chapter, I think he gets rid of the other woman that he impregnated because Sarah was able to have kids. So the bondswoman, they call her, they had a son, and I think he like cast her out or something, but the Lord did warn him. Do not let it be displeasing in your sight because of the lad or because of your bondwoman. Whatever Sarah has said to you, listen to her voice. For in Isaac your seed shall be called. Yet I will also make a nation for the son of the bondwoman, because he is your seed. So Abraham, being a prophet, has done some rather peculiar things. I really don't like the way that they reference, and Abraham knew his wife again. So when you say like knew his wife again, that is inclining a time of separation or disconnect. Knew his wife again. Like I just don't like the way that that's put. And I will make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of the earth. Now, how do you take that? I don't know how to take that. I think there's only one God, one power, one. And whether it be two different like forms of the one, it's still one. One we have a physical representation that we live on, and the other is the consciousness that surrounds all of us. But it's still the same thing made up of the same energy. And then Abraham gets a new wife and he ends up having all these children. And yeah, that leads us at chapter 25. So I'm not really sure how I feel about this chapter so far. To be honest with you, reflecting, this is the most ancestral book. book I think I've ever read. And and whenever I think everyone came to tell their stories and they're putting the Bible together, I could see people twisting their story a little bit so it doesn't sound so bad. You know, like this is going to be going all over the world. Like, who wants to say they impregnated their daughters because they got too drunk? Virgins on top of that. I mean, that's kind of fucked up. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little weird. So excited to see what happens going forward. Okay, ciao for now, guys. Bye.